this particular high school, I also know you will do very well at Michigan State if you choose to come to Michigan State, because I've seen it, a history of that from working with students from your particular high school. So happy to be here today. I want to talk a little bit about Michigan State, kind of let you know about my pride points about the university, and then I'll talk about the application process and leave some time at the end if you do have any additional questions. So with that in mind, we'll start with Michigan State. How many of you have ever been to MSU for any reason whatsoever? Just a quick show of hands. A good number of you, I assume so. It's kind of what I come to expect from this area. If you haven't been to Michigan State, it is a very big place. I'm sure for those of you who have been there, you can attest to the size of the university. When you drive on the campus, it definitely feels kind of like a city in and of itself. Physically speaking, we got about 5,200 acres in East Lansing, about 600 to 700 buildings, depending on how you count them, a couple hundred miles of sidewalks that are all part of MSU. So physically speaking, definitely a very big place. And we take up a lot of room in East Lansing. So when you look at MSU, big place, but we're right next to the Capitol in Lansing, so our students really take advantage of that. And the East Lansing community definitely supports us as well. When we look at the size of Michigan State by the number of students, we're just over 50,000 students, makes us about the nation's 7th or 8th largest institution when we do a head count. But what's really important for all of you is that next number, 39,000. That's our undergraduate population. So undergraduate population, very much a traditional undergraduate population, right out of high school, working on their first degree, 18 to 23 years old, it makes up the population. So it's your peer group. It's students who 2 or 3 years ago were in the seats you're in right now that make up the majority of our campus. And that's important for you to know because our faculty enjoy working with undergraduate students. They want to teach undergraduate students. The resources that we have available on our campus are really geared towards the undergraduate experience and the undergraduate success. So ultimately what that translates to is our faculty want to work with you, and the resources that we have available is really to ensure that you're going to be successful when you come to Michigan State, because our major focus is really on your experience and your education at MSU. Incoming class last year, a little bit bigger than what we thought it would be. It was pretty close to 9,700 students started with us in August. We know if we bring in a class of about 95 to 9,600, that will keep the university at about 50,000. So this year we're looking to bring it down a little bit, probably closer to 9,600 than 9,700. But ultimately that's the size of a class that we bring into Michigan State each year. It's about 9,600 or so students that will attend MSU. Students come from every single county in the state of Michigan, all 50 states in the United States, and from about 130 countries from around the world as well. So it's quite an international university. What I really want you to take away from when you're looking at these numbers is with 50,000 students all gathered in one spot, you're going to find people that are almost exactly like you, have the same interest as you. You're going to be instant friends right away. You're going to make that connection and have that connection for the rest of your life. But with students coming from all around the world, you are also going to meet people that are nothing like you whatsoever at Michigan State. And they're really going to challenge your understanding of the material that you're going over. They're going to kind of force you to think about things in a new way. And you sit in a classroom with both those people that are like you and those people that are not like you. And that's where the really challenge and support comes in the education process. And I think that's the biggest benefit of a university of the size of Michigan State, is having that opportunity to engage with people that are nothing like you and also like you as well. So big campus, but with that big campus comes big opportunities for our students, over 400 areas of study that you can go into. We like to say everything from accounting to zoology, but I'll be the first to admit there's a couple things missing along that alphabet train. But big ones that students ask me questions about: engineering, business, nursing, education, pre-professional programs like pre-vet, pre-med, all of that is available for you to study at MSU. We have some really unique majors like turf grass management, supply chain management, and packaging, which if I'm honest, I didn't know what those were until I came to Michigan State, but we're nationally ranked. We're #1 in the country for all 3 of those particular majors. So there's a lot of unique majors at Michigan State. And I absolutely want you to start thinking about what it is that you want to do, but I don't want you to get too focused on the name of a major. I know you're going to get a lot of pressure about selecting a major, but when you come to Michigan State, you have some time to explore your options. And so while it's a good idea to have a career goal in mind, I don't want you to look too much at it, at particular names and majors, because we want you to explore those options. So if you love engineering, that's great. We have about 8 different majors within the College of Engineering that will kind of help you figure out that path. But we also have about 18% of our students that come in what we call exploratory. It's not no preference, it's that they're exploring their options. So they want to spend some time looking around before they commit to something. But a great example of not getting too connected to a name is physical therapy. We don't actually have physical therapy as a major at Michigan State. Instead, what we have is kinesiology, study of the human body in motion. About 90% of our graduates go on to be physical therapists or occupational therapists or athletic training. But it's not called physical therapy, but it still gets you the end result. And ultimately, when you come to Michigan State, you're going to work with an academic advisor, and their first question to you is not going to be about the major, it's going to be about what are your career interests and what are you passionate about, so that they can connect you to those careers and connect you to your passions as well. So lots of areas of study to go into. 3 really unique ones are our residential colleges. Residential colleges are academic programs housed in our residence hall building. So everyone you're living with is studying the same thing that you're studying. A lot of your classes for your major are in the same building that you live in. And even faculty and advising offices, they're in that building as well. So if you hear 50,000 students, it seems intimidating. Residential colleges are a great way to break down the overall size of the institution. So it kind of gives you this smaller intentional community of support. You're still a Spartan, so you still have all the opportunities that all the other students have. You just kind of have a smaller home base that you get to go back to. These are not honors programs. If you're admissible to the university, you're admissible to these programs, but they do tend to fill up because of the limited number of living spaces that are available. So it's good to select these as your preferred major on your application so you can enter in on your first year and be a part of the programs. The 3 residential colleges kind of go in size order. Largest is Lyman Briggs, centers around the natural sciences. So a lot of pre-med majors are interested, or doctors are interested in Lyman Briggs as a potential option. James Madison is the next largest. It's international relations, public policy, and constitutional law. So a lot of pre-law students interested in James Madison. And then the 3rd is the residential college in the arts and humanities. Obviously deals with arts and humanities, but it's really for those students that want to utilize the arts and humanities for social change and for common good. So a lot of these students, they're going on to start their own nonprofits or to work for nonprofits, and it's a really flexible degree that really allows you to do a lot. Again, these are not honors programs, but you need to select them as your preferred major on your application. And I'm always happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation about those residential colleges if you have them. Big university tend to think about big classroom size. Average class size at Michigan State is about 40 students or so your first 2 years. Your last 2 years, it's about 30 students, so maybe just a little bit larger than what you're experiencing in high school right now. But do keep in mind how averages are made. They sit right in the center, and that's true for our classes as well. So we have a couple of lecture halls that seat 600 people, and they get used. So more than likely, at some point in time, you're going to have a large class at Michigan State. But even our large classes are broken up into what we call recitation sessions. So Monday and Wednesday, maybe you'll go to a lecture of 250 people, but then on Friday, you're in a smaller class of about 20 people, where it breaks down the overall lecture and the homework, what's going to be on the exam, so it gives you that small class experience. But if that's one extreme, there's another extreme as well. I've had students that worked for me. They went to class with 5 other students and a faculty member. They worked on a research project together, and that was their class at MSU. So you will have a full spectrum of classes at Michigan State, and it all kind of depends on your major. It will change. But again, the average class size, about 40 students your first 2 years. Your last 2 years is about 30. 3 academic experiences that I want to showcase outside of the classroom are entrepreneurship, undergraduate research, and education abroad. Entrepreneurship has really taken off and it's become a pretty popular buzzword around the world, but for us, entrepreneurship is really supporting students and their ideas and helping them get their ideas, making them into reality, and getting them off the ground. Entrepreneurship at Michigan State is not exclusively in the College of Business. Any student at MSU can get a minor in entrepreneurship. Our maker spaces that are spread all around campus are available for all students to use. They're great locations just to work on some collaborative learning, but there's also 3D printing, bookbinding, poster printing opportunities in these maker spaces as well. And then the Burgess Institute is a collaboration between Michigan State University and Lansing and East Lansing businesses, where current professionals can work with our students to help our students make their ideas into reality. So we really want our students getting involved in entrepreneurship at Michigan State. Undergraduate research is another big initiative at MSU. We're a Research One institution. Ultimately, that just means we get a lot of money to conduct research on our campus. I hear research, I tend to think of sciences, so lab coats and microscopes. You can absolutely do scientific research at Michigan State. We're one of the few institutions in the country that have their own cyclotron, so we split atoms on our campus almost every single day. Facility for rare isotope beams is up and operational. We have about 700 international researchers already signed up to use the facility for rare isotope beams, or FRIB as we call it for short. We currently have an autonomous bus driving around campus and an autonomous car that the College of Engineering has worked on and are looking to perfect for us. So scientific research, a big thing, but every single department at Michigan State has research available. And keep in mind, because we're an undergraduate institution and our main focus is on undergraduate education, it's undergraduate students that help our faculty with this world-changing research. About 1 in 3 students will leave Michigan State having done some kind of significant research while they've attended MSU. The last piece is about education abroad. We just 2 weeks ago were U.S. News and World Report just named us the #1 public university to send students to study abroad. About 300 different programs that you can go on, all 7 continents. If for some reason you just want to get to Antarctica, we can make that a reality for you. Programs that are related to majors, but also programs that are connected to just your general studies that you have to complete at Michigan State. There's internships and research opportunities available through education abroad as well. So we like to highlight these because a lot of our students take advantage of these 3 opportunities, but it's also the Spartan mindset. This is really what we want all students to be doing at Michigan State. We want you all to be entrepreneurs. We want you to push the material that you're learning and kind of changing the careers that are going to be for us in the future. We want you researching at Michigan State, asking questions of what the faculty are teaching you, asking questions that will change the curriculum that you're learning for the generations next to come. And we want you to be global thinkers, and we want you to be worldly students. So this is really a mindset that all Spartans will have, is to be entrepreneurs, researchers, and global learners as well. It's absolutely important that you make sure that the universities you're looking at have the academic opportunities that you're looking for, but you also need to feel comfortable on campus and feel like you have a home on a campus as well. And at Michigan State, with so many students, like I said, all gathered in one area, you will meet people that you will connect with. We have over 1,000 clubs and organizations, all related to how you choose to identify yourself, your beliefs that you have, passions that you have, hobbies you're interested in, academics that you're pursuing, all clubs and organizations related to that you can connect with. When it comes to getting active on campus, 3 different intramural facilities. We'll have a 4th in about 2 years, so we just started building our 4th intramural facility on our campus. Those are really rec centers where there's free weights, elliptical weights, courts of all kinds that you can participate in, and so lots of ways to get out and get active on our campus. And then when it comes to the arts, 2 different art galleries on our campus and 3 different performing centers. The most notable is the Wharton Center. That's our Broadway-ready stage that sits right in the heart of campus. So performances can leave Broadway, come to MSU. They don't have to change their set design. They don't have to change their blocking. They fit perfectly onto the Wharton Center stage. And so our students get Broadway-quality performances at a fraction of the cost right in their own backyard. So it is really, really important that when you go to college, that you get involved in the community, whether it's through clubs and organizations, intramural activities, or the arts that are on the campuses. Because when you feel comfortable and you feel at home on a college campus, you can relax, and then you can really focus on the reason that you're there, and that's to get those degrees and work on your academics. Living on campus is really important at Michigan State. We ask our students to live on campus the first 2 years that they're there. We have one of the largest residence hall systems in the country. We know that you're going to go through some major transitions when you come to college, and we find that living on campus for 2 years not only helps you with that transition, but allows us to give you the resources to make that transition a little bit easier for you. Through our neighborhoods, we have 5 neighborhoods on campus because our residence hall system is so large. It's broken up into 5 parts, and each neighborhood has an engagement center in it. The engagement centers, they have a lot of resources available to you, but some of the big ones that are available that students utilize is the tutoring opportunities. So if you feel like you're starting to slip behind in a class that you're in, there's tutors available within the engagement centers. If you feel like you're a little under the weather, there's nurse practitioners that you can go to within the engagement centers. But if you're feeling a little homesick or a little overwhelmed by the whole college experience, there's counselors within the engagement centers as well that will help you just as available to talk to, just to kind of help through that process. All this is free for you as a student. We know these are important resources that help our students be successful, so we put it right at their doorstep so that the students don't have to walk around campus to find that. It's right there for you to become a part of. The biggest kind of product of the engagement centers has been about a 95% retention ratio from first year on to second year. At Michigan State, that's about 15% higher than the national average, so it's something we take a lot of pride in. We know we're helping our students make that transition into college. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the application process. There's 3 ways that you can apply to MSU. When I open your file on my computer, I have no way of knowing how you applied to Michigan State. So it is really your preference. It's ultimately up to you how you would choose to apply. That being said, the way that most students apply to Michigan State, about 70% of our students use the Common Application as the way to apply to MSU. That is great if you're applying to multiple universities that are all on the Common App. I think that's probably the best way to apply to our university. But if Michigan State's the only university you're applying to that's on the Common App, I would suggest using our homegrown application. It's just at admissions.msu.edu. It'll be a little bit faster for you, but again, multiple universities, the Common App is going to be the fastest way to go. The newest one for us this year is the Coalition app. I'll be interested to see how many students use that. It is very much like the Common App, so if you're applying to multiple universities all using Coalition app, that might be the best way for you to go. Filling out the application is very simple, very straightforward questions. The one piece that I do want to mention is the essay. As a person who is the first person to read your essay when it comes into the office, I will tell you what I am looking for in an essay. It is ultimately your voice. I just want to know who you are as an individual. If you've had challenges in your life that you had to overcome, I would really want to see that in your essay. If there's something unique about you or a passion that you have, that is ultimately what I'm looking for in your essay. There's 7 prompts there that will help guide you. You're absolutely welcome to use those, but you don't have to. It's really just you talking to me about the type of a person you are. If you think about it from my angle, when I sit down at my desk, I'm going to look at your high school transcript. I'm going to look at the classes that you've taken and how well you did in those classes, and that tells me the type of a student you are. But I don't know what kind of a person you are. That essay is really your opportunity to tell me that information. And I do take the time to read every essay that comes across my desk, because MSU is my home, and I need to know who I'm inviting into my home. So that essay is really your chance to let me know that information. So you finish up that essay, you hit submit, and you turn in your application. The last thing you need to do is have your high school transcript sent to us. Then your job as an applicant is done, and my job as your admissions counselor can take over. The number one thing I'm going to look at is your high school transcripts, not just your end GPA, but how did you build that GPA? So the classes that you've chosen to take while you were here, how did you challenge yourself, and then how well did you do with those challenges? I already emphasized the importance of the essay, but it's also important if you're involved in anything to let us know on that application as well. There's opportunities to put any kind of clubs or extracurricular activities that you're involved in. I look for some kind of involvement, but not a specific kind of involvement. So if you're a volunteer, that's great. Athletes, performers, programmers, robotics, all of that is some kind of involvement in the community. I know there are students out there that have part-time jobs because they need to help out at home or they just want to make a little money. That's involvement in your community as well. So make sure you take the time to let us know about that, because like I said, I'm looking for some kind of involvement within your community here, because I want you to be involved in our community at Michigan State. So I try to get that big picture of you, not only as a student, but as a whole person as well. That being said, the one thing I didn't mention was test scores. MSU is test optional and will remain test optional until 2026, and that means exactly what it says it is. It is your option whether you send that test score to us or not. My advice, if you got your standardized test score back and you opened it up and it put a big smile on your face and you wanted to run and tell somebody what that number was, that's probably a score you want to send to Michigan State. If you open it up and thought, that's not bad, or you thought, ooh, that doesn't represent me, probably not a score you need to send to MSU. We've redesigned our application evaluation process to really consider test scores as secondary information. So you will go through the entire process, not only for admissions, but for scholarships and honors as well, without test scores if you ask us to not consider those. So if you feel like the test score is something that really will help us understand you as a person, absolutely, you can submit that, but there is no need to send a test score to Michigan State. That being said, the majority of students that were admitted, really GPA range 3.5 to a 4 is kind of what the majority of students had. Test scores, like I said, they're there. If you're within that range, that's average. There's nothing wrong with being average, but you wouldn't necessarily need to send a test score in if you're within that range or below that range. Certainly above it, you could consider sending them in if you wanted to, but ultimately it's your GPA and the classes that you've taken while you're here in high school that will really be the decision-making factor for us. Talk a little bit about timeline, because now really is the time to submit your applications to Michigan State. We'd like you to get everything submitted to MSU by November 1st. If you get everything turned in to MSU by November 1, that means we guarantee a decision back to you on or before January 15th. That is a very important phrase, on or before. So we might get some decisions out much, much earlier. Within the next couple weeks here, we're going to get started making decisions and turning those over to students. So we guarantee that you'll get a decision on or before January 15th. Some students, it might take right up to January 15th until we make that decision, but we'll let you know where you stand with MSU on or before January 15th if you submit everything to Michigan State by November 1st. I would really encourage you to use this week and next week as your time to apply to Michigan State, because it is free to apply to MSU this week and next week. So you can, on any of those applications that I mentioned, Coalition, Common App, and MSU application, you can use the code Spartan1855 as your fee waiver code, and it's free to apply to MSU. So no matter where we are kind of on your list of schools, I would recommend getting it in this week so that it's free for you. And that is actually a program that the entire state of Michigan is taking part in. So public universities in the state of Michigan are all offering free applications right now. You can go to mcan.org to see what all the other codes are for those other institutions. But if you are looking at other public universities in the state of Michigan, it's a good opportunity to get all those applications in this week. And then May 1st is the other important date for you as a senior. That is the day that you need to commit to a university. Certainly, if you know where you want to go before that, that's great. But by May 1, you need to know that university and commit to it. Once you apply to Michigan State, you'll have access to your student account. Your student account's our primary way of communicating with you. So any decisions that we're going to make is going to come through your account. If we need additional information, which sometimes we might ask for another essay, or we might ask for additional grades, so like the first half of your senior year, we might ask for that. All of that request will come through the student account. So it's important you use an email that you can check regularly and that you will check regularly when you apply, so that you can get those email updates to know to go out and check your account. But like I said, this is also the way that we'll communicate with you. If and when you're accepted to Michigan State, we'll let you know on the student account. A few days later, you'll still get a hard copy letter in the mail that says you're admitted, but you'll know through your account, first and foremost, that you've been admitted. So with that in mind, I'll put up that QR code one more time and then open it up to see if you have any questions about Michigan State or anything else that I can kind of help answer about the university or the application process or kind of how I review applications. All of that is kind of open for you. Yeah. Sure. So the questions about residential colleges and living in residential colleges, really the concept behind a residential college is that you're living within those particular buildings. So Lyman Briggs lives in Holmes Hall, Case Hall, Holmes, James Madison, and then Snyder Phillips are the two halls that kind of house the Residential College for the Arts and Humanities. So if you're part of those programs, we would want you to live in those buildings at least your first 2 years. After that, you could move off campus. But really the concept is living where you're learning, and so we would want you to live in those buildings. Beyond that, if you have other majors that are not residential colleges, so the 397 other majors that are available out there, you can pretty much live anywhere on campus. It's really kind of your opportunity to choose where you want to live. And like I said, one of the largest residence hall systems in the country, so lots of opportunities to kind of decide where you live. Majority of classes sit kind of in the center of campus. If you ever look at a map, Most of the academic buildings are in the center of campus, and then the housing and the residence halls are kind of on the outskirts. So most students kind of go towards the center when it comes to classes. Other questions? Yeah, so the question's about a car on campus, and this question used to make me really, really nervous because the answer used to be no until this year. And so first-year students are allowed to register a vehicle now on campus. This is the first time in ever, I think, that we've allowed first-year students to have cars. So spaces have become available, so we are allowing students to register vehicles. That being said, majority of students, almost all students, are not going to use a car to get to class. Most of the time, if you have a car, it's really just going to stay parked at a parking lot. Majority of students, when they get around campus, it's either walking, biking, they use scooters. We do have CATA, which is the Capital Area Transportation Authority bus system, which is free for students to use on campus. That tends to get a lot of use as the weather gets colder. But if you were walking around campus today, you'd see the majority of students are really just walking on campus. But you can have a car, to answer the question. Yeah. Great question. So the question is, if you're looking to transfer to MSU after doing a year or two at another institution, does it look different? Yes and no. So it is a different application that you'll fill out, but you'll still go to admissions.msu.edu. The first question you're going to get asked is, are you a transfer student or a first-year student? You select transfer, and then the application, you'll just fill it out as normal. For transfer students, the essay is absolutely important. Typically, we want to see at least a year, so about 28 credits at another institution. And then a 3.0 of college level work is really what we're looking for. So within those 28 credits, we'd really like to see at least a 3.0 for you to transfer to Michigan State. So the requirements are a little bit different compared to freshmen when we're looking academically speaking, but the application process itself, very similar. Yeah. Yeah. So what careers do, like the residential college, you mean, right? Yeah. Like if you were to go through what we call ARCA, the residential college in the arts and humanities, what careers come out of that? Students that I have worked with that have gone through ARCA, some of them have gone into teaching. The sustainability officer at Nike is a graduate from that particular one. There is a student that used to work for me that now runs a nonprofit out of Detroit, which kind of utilizes photography to show the more positive things that are happening in the Detroit area. So it really truly allows you to have quite a wide range of flexibility. A lot of students in that particular program will also double major, so they get another major in something else as well. But there is a community service piece that's a part of that, so that's why there's so much kind of community focus in those majors. Other questions? Okay, I brought some posters, which are just kind of the general piece of information from Michigan State. It has our list of majors listed on one side and kind of basic stats and information available as well. Like I said, the QR code is great to get you on our mailing list. That is one thing I will recommend to come up and visit campus. So if you're a junior, I'd recommend coming up to visit campus pretty much any time that you want. Just about every day of the week, we offer some kind of visit right now in the fall. In the summer, we have our Green and White Days program, which is our open house. So you'll get an admissions presentation in the morning, but then academic units are open in the afternoon, and you can visit with them. And there's a huge student resource fair as well that's available during the Green and White Days program. For the seniors, once you're admitted, there's admitted student programs that you can come up. It is a little different to look at a university once you already know you've been accepted, kind of change your perspective a little bit. So come up and visit us once you're admitted. We also have a huge program called Admitted Student Day, where we get about 10,000 admitted students on campus, and usually Izzo's there to congratulate everybody. And so it's a really great, fun atmosphere and something to consider as well once you've been accepted to Michigan State. So get up and visit campus at some point in time to see what MSU really looks like. And like I said, the code's a great way to get on that mailing list. But I'll hang around if you have any personal questions. Be happy to answer those. But other than that, thank you very much for your time and attention.